Hi everyone. Well, this is the fourth video of our Two Perspectives on Addiction series. And this week, the title is How I Dulled the Sharp Reality of What Was Actually Happening. This for me was plain and simple. It was me avoiding reality, basically all the time. It was easier to avoid the reality and put up my blinders rather than so I wouldn't have to make a choice. I wouldn't have to make any hard decisions because it was just easier. Putting your blinders on and not having to deal with the consequences of addiction was, at the time for me, seemed a lot easier than it did anything else. Like, I just didn't want to have to deal with it. There were so many occasions that I would go out and I'd be with my friends or my family, and they'd ask me questions about, why is Tom always tired? Or why is he not here? Or why does he leave 3 or 4 times when we're all together? Or why is he constantly late for things? And I would always stick up for him. I'd always say things like, oh, he had to do this, or basically just make excuses for him. And they'd say, well, I'm kind of worried. I had a few close friends that would be like, well, it looks like that he may be using again. And I'd be like, no. And I'd take it so offensively and say, no, and I'd refer to like some time months ago of a good day that we had. And I did that constantly. They'd say, well, he's acting the same way he did the last time he was using. And I'm like, no, he's been working late and he's just really tired, or he's been ornery because of this, or he has to work a lot, or like the excuses were endless. And there was a specific time. I mean, there were so many times I got mad at my friends. I would stop talking to them, and if we were together, I tried to completely avoid conversation. I did not want Tom to be brought up. Like, if I could avoid going anywhere with or without him, I would avoid it, just so I could avoid any questions, because it always came down to me making excuses for him. And I made up so many excuses that I would forget what was true, because I would make up so many lies just to keep him safe, just to make him look better than they were perceiving him. Even though, like, I'd like to say deep down I knew what was going on, hence the blinders. I mean, it was just, I didn't want to have to deal with it, because I knew what would have to happen if he was using again, if he was back in his addiction ways and making those choices again. I knew what was going to have to happen. And there was a certain time in 2009 in the fall, and my sister had just moved back from she was living in England with her family at the time, and they were just moving back, and they were transitioning, trying to figure out where to go next. And I begged her to stay with us. We were living in Layton at this time, and on the Hill Air Force Base, and I pleaded with her to stay with us, because we're 10 years apart, but we're super close, and I just kept asking her to stay with us. And she'd put me off and say, no, I think Mom wants to have us stay with her instead. And she'd make up excuses as well. But there was a one-time conversation that we did have, and she finally just told me the truth. She said, listen, Shay, I can't stay there. And I was like, why? And she's like, because I think Tom's not making the choices that he should be making. I think he's using again, and I don't want to bring my family into that kind of environment. And I remember thinking, what? How dare you? How dare you act like you know what's going on with my family? You lived clear across the country, in a different country, and you're sitting here and telling me that you know what's going on with my family and what's happening with our relationship? Like, how dare you? And I remember getting really upset with her. I was mad that she had any right to tell me that. And I didn't talk to her for months. I didn't really find out till months later that he was using again. And I have posted that video before of the first time I found out that he was using. And I just remember ruining a lot of friendships and a lot of relationships because they were trying to be my friends. They were trying to open my eyes and show me what was happening. But at the same time, they didn't get it. And that's what I felt like. They didn't get it. They didn't understand what I was going to have to deal with. And at this time we had 2 kids. So it was like, it just felt like it was easier to just act as if nothing was wrong and that everything was okay. And if they did bring something up, I would just make excuses for them and lie just to cover him and make him look better. Looking back, it blows my mind that I did those things, that I was allowing myself to live in that hell that I was living in. I don't know why I'd rather feel the way I was feeling than to deal with the reality. Because once I came back and realized what was happening, I started making choices. Yes, they were hard choices. They were the hardest choices I've ever had to make in my life. But they allowed me to move on and find happiness, to find peace without addiction. And it's because of those things that I decided to do. It took a long time, but I did take those blinders off, and I did make hard decisions, and I did move forward. And I wouldn't be here now as happy as I am if I didn't make those choices, as if I didn't decide to take my blinders off. I know how easy it is to keep them on. But in the long run, it's not the best thing to do. It just puts off all of the hurt. It just puts it off and makes it last longer than it needs to be. And to me, that's not the way to live. It's just more painful, and you're just prolonging it, really. Avoiding reality doesn't hurt anybody but you. It's really just hurting you in the long run. And now I look back and I'm grateful for my friends and family that came to me and tried to tell me what was going on and tried to get me to pull my blinders down. I'm grateful to them for that. It wasn't until I made the choice to take those blinders off for me to actually move on. But if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have been questioning it. And those friends that did do that, they stood by me, they supported me, and they supported Tom. They were there for me, and when things got better between us and we got remarried, they were there for us. They supported us and they loved us both. So I'm very grateful to all of them that stood by us. And I know you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. And it may seem like the easy way out. It may seem like it's the best thing for you or your family right now. But I can tell you it's not. dulling the sharp reality is not the way to go. It'll only cause more pain. I want to end this video just by asking you, what does it do for you? How do you dull the sharp reality? What are the things that you do to avoid confrontation, to avoid talking to your loved one about it? I know I did. I tried to avoid any type of conversation when I clearly knew he was high, because then I'd be accepting it. I'd be seeing the signs, and that wasn't good. So what are the things you're doing to dull the pain? And are they working for you? Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.